Who has the biggest gripe on this morning?
It's the Georgia Bulldogs, because when you showed that graphic, Greeny, you saw Georgia's opponents all over the place, including Texas, the number 3 team in the country. They only beat Texas in Texas, and they played Alabama. At Alabama, they lost at Ole Miss, and they beat Tennessee. When you look at everyone else, Indiana doesn't have a ranked team. They'll get one this weekend. Penn State has lost to one. Every time I get on here every Wednesday morning, Greeny, I say to myself, calm down, don't be an angry guy, get off your lawn. But this committee is not serious. There are football coaches on this committee, and there's no way those football coaches can tell me or anyone else with a straight face that they really think Indiana, Penn State, Miami, schools like that are better than Georgia.
All right, Paul Finebaum, you're going to keep sticking with your beliefs in Georgia. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Paul Finebaum being frustrated over Miami being ranked higher than Georgia in the college football playoff rankings. Miami is currently ranked 8th in the college football playoff rankings, while Georgia is ranked 10th. With 2 games remaining left on the schedule. For Georgia, they will try to win out in order to booster up their resume for the college football playoff. Before I say anything else, though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So, here it is. Should Georgia be ranked above Miami in the college football playoff rankings? Absolutely. Is that even a real question? When you compare those 2 teams head to head and against each other, it is beyond clear Georgia is the better football team compared to Miami. When you also talk about resume between Georgia and Miami, who has the better resume on paper? Georgia. Who has more significant wins on their schedule? Georgia. Who has the better roster top to bottom? Georgia. Everything goes towards Georgia's advantage except for the win-loss record. However, wins and losses have to be taken into context. Yes, Miami is 9-1. That is certainly true, but Miami has not really had any impressive wins whatsoever this year. The only reason why they're 9-1 this year is because of Cam Ward. Cam Ward has been playing amazing football for Miami this season. Now, I still have doubts about Cam Ward as a franchise quarterback at the NFL level, but Cam Ward at Miami has had a great year for them. The only reason why Miami is even relevant in this conversation is because of their quarterback. You look at their coaching situation, you look at their defense, you look at their weapons, everything goes towards Georgia's favor. Even with Trevor Etienne being injured, Georgia can still run the football pretty effectively. Nate Frazier, he's a really good RB2. He stepped up for Georgia last Saturday against Tennessee. I told you guys that Georgia was going to beat Tennessee by 2 scores, and they did exactly that. I got a lot of pushback from my buddies that kept telling me, oh, Tennessee's going to win, and I kept saying, no, the only way Tennessee is going to win is if they're going to be able to run the football effectively, because Tennessee is not a good team throwing the football, and that plays exactly right into Georgia's strengths. Georgia does a great job stopping the run, which meant that they were able to contain Tennessee's run game, which meant Tennessee was going to be limited overall. You look at the work Kirby Smart has put in for Georgia. There's a reason why Georgia has become the standard in college football. Georgia should be higher than 10th in the college football playoff rankings. I remember asking myself this question last week, whether Georgia was ranked too low or whatever on their list, and I said Georgia was ranked exactly where they needed to be, but that they would have plenty of time to move up in the college football playoff rankings. Well, Georgia did exactly that last Saturday. They did a great job beating down Tennessee and controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the field. Defensive line showed up. Offensive line showed up. Carson Beck had his best game of the season. I'll give credit to Carson Beck where credit was due. I didn't think the dude could step it up in big games, but he did exactly that. I thought he had a really good game against Tennessee. Now, I still have doubts about Carson Beck actually being a good quarterback in the long term, but Carson Beck showed that he can be good enough to win football games at Georgia, or at least the big games, should I rather say. I also want to talk about what Kirby Smart said about the victory after Tennessee. I thought his comments about what Georgia did during that ball game was particularly interesting. Roll the film.
Our kids show resiliency. I'm proud of them. Look, it was a week ago, a couple hours that we were dead and gone. You know, people had written us off. It's hard to play in this league week in and week out on the road. We've accumulated a tremendous amount of injuries from the schedule we've had, and it's not going to really get any easier. It's a physical game, but when you play the gauntlet of what we played, it's taking its toll. We had a lot of guys sitting on the sideline tonight that couldn't play, but we also had a lot of guys that stepped up. And I think the way we practice has helped us grow some players who stepped up tonight and played big for us.
There you go, Kirby Smart. That's a good way to praise your players. I thought your players played really well against Tennessee, and the players deserve a lot of credit for that. I thought the defensive line stepped it up. I thought the offensive line stepped it up. I thought the play calling on offense improved as well. I like that they got their tight ends involved. Lawson, Luckie, and Oscar Delp got their targets. I like the fact how they had Carson Beck go under center and use him in the play action game. I feel like that's where Carson Beck works best in, and they were able to make Carson Beck look like a better quarterback than usual. That's the formula Georgia needs to rely upon in order to win football games moving forward. Now, you look at their last 2 games of the season, they've got Massachusetts this upcoming Saturday, and they got Georgia Tech to finish out the season. Georgia should be able to win both of those games very handily. We all know that Kirby Smart has been complaining about how Georgia's strength of schedule has been too strong this year. Well, Georgia's strength of schedule is going to take a dip the next 2 weeks because these opponents are not necessarily that good, which means Georgia should be able to beat those guys down by a lot of points, which I believe Georgia is capable of doing. I know Georgia at times this year has not looked like a good football team, but that win over Tennessee changes everything. I told you guys that it would not matter whether Georgia was ranked too low last week, and I still feel like that is the case. If Georgia wins out their remaining games, they're going to make the college football playoff. They're not going to be left out of it. It's Georgia we're talking about. You look at the eye test, they still look like a top 12 team in college football. Now, whether they're ranked higher than Miami or not, I can understand why the committee doesn't want to do that right now, but if you just simply turn on the tape between these 2 teams, it's clear Georgia has the better football team compared to Miami. If you put those 2 teams head to head on a field, Georgia would clearly smoke Miami on the football field. The only reason why Miami is even relevant this year is because of Cam Ward. You take Cam Ward off that Miami team, Miami might not even make a bowl game this year. If you take Carson Beck off of Georgia though and put in Stockton as their quarterback, Georgia would still be a really good football team. Carson Beck does not move the needle for Georgia at the quarterback position. I understand the committee might be more resume based, but even if you're relying on resume in general, Georgia has a more impressive resume compared to Miami. Georgia has more ranked wins. They play in a tougher conference. You look at how Georgia has had a tougher schedule as well. You go up against any team in the SEC on the road, it's a tough environment to win. Georgia is in a really tough conference, and they should be rewarded for having a tough schedule. If they finish the season 10-2, that should be enough for them to make the college football playoff. Now, Georgia also has a chance to play in the SEC championship game as well, although some things have to go their way. They currently don't control their destiny, but if some things go their way, they'll be playing the SEC championship game. And if they have a 3rd loss in the SEC championship game, well then yeah, I'll agree. They should not make the college football playoff. No team with 3 losses should make the college football playoff. However, if Georgia gets to the SEC championship game, unless if they play Texas or somebody along those lines, they're probably going to go ahead and beat whoever is in the SEC championship game, which is going to guarantee them a spot in the college football playoff. Look, you can cry all you want about Georgia being ranked too low, but at the end of the day though, if they take care of business in the next 2 to 3 games, then they will definitely make the college football playoff. I do think Georgia should be ranked higher than Miami in the college football playoff rankings, but I can also understand why the committee is going in that direction. Either way though, Georgia just has to take care of business and win the next 2 games on their schedule. If they do that, the rest will take care of itself. So that is why Georgia should be ranked above Miami in the college football playoff rankings, as they are clearly the better team on paper when you compare these teams to each other. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @DusNasTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DusNasTran, and that's Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DusNasTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.